So Martha's going to lead you through. We have a few questions about what you've done before in gardening and what you're interested in finding out today. So I'm going to move on to the next slide. And I think Martha and Lauren are emceeing this between you with all the technology.
So right now I cannot see my screen, but I do believe we're going to launch a poll. We're going to ask a simple question of whether or not you have gardened before. So yes, you have gardened before, or no, you have not. And I'm going to let Liz.
The poll's been launched. If for some reason you don't see the poll, just write in the chat box whether you've gardened or not.
So
can you see your screen now, Martha?
No, I can't, but I think we've got just a few seconds left, and it looks like about 92% of the people have gardened before, which we find to be really exciting. And I'm going to go back to Liz while I try to recover my screen.
All right. And I love that we have a mix of people who have gardened before, who have not gardened before. We're going to talk about different ways of gardening, about equipment that is fancy equipment and that's real simple and that you'll have at home. So hopefully we'll have something here for everyone. And we're going to hear a little bit more about, have you ever grown? And we'd like you to type this into the chat box if you would. Type in, have you ever grown vegetables or flowers or helped someone grow them and shared them with someone else? And maybe you grew it yourself from start to finish. Maybe you helped somebody carry it somewhere. Have you ever, maybe it was through farm to school at school, you handed things out. A lot of people have gotten to share some vegetables or some flowers. That's pretty exciting. So you have the experience of maybe picking things or maybe being at the other end and seeing somebody receive them and like them. And we've got one more question. Lots of yeses. Well, and if not, there's something you can always do. So our last question, much more open. What is your favorite vegetable or flower? This could be to grow it. This could be to eat it. This could be to sit and look at it because it's beautiful. It could be very soft grass that you like to walk on barefoot. That's a nice plant. Any kind of flower or vegetable that you really like.
And you can type
Please put those in the chat box.
I do have my screen back. Oh, we've got tomatoes, carnations and carrots. Cash and Night, they like peas in a pod. We've got hot peppers, corn. What else? Chives, that's a great one. Some more tomatoes and some more peas. Rhubarb, which is really, in my yard, rhubarb is just starting to come out of the ground.
Wow.
Sunflowers. These are all awesome. So at this time, we're going to turn it back to Liz, and she's going to tell us a few more things about plants and gardening.
All right, thanks, Martha. So first things first, if you're going to set up to do some gardening, we want to think about what do plants need? So here's another chance to type these in the chat box. And I've got a few pictures to kind of jog your imagination or your memory about what do plants need to live. And I have a specific list in mind, and you might even think of things that I haven't thought of. So please, water. I'm seeing water for sure. What else do plants need? And what are you seeing in these pictures? What do plants need before you plant them, after you plant them? What do they need to stay healthy? Dirt and sun and sunlight and seeds. Sun, sun, sun. Yeah, pollinators. Somebody noticed the bee over here in the bottom corner. And there's bees. There's all kinds of pollinators. Water and sun. All of these things are really important. These grew over here in the toilet paper rolls. And these are in the ground getting watered. We've got, this is actually a little tiny pine tree. And look at this little tiny pine tree above earth and all these roots doing their work below the ground. This one's on a farm. And here we've got a bee. Fertilizer and love. Yeah. And love might take the form of water and fertilizer, or you just gaze at it. Compost, sun, pollination, taking care of things. Yeah. Plants need all of these things. And the list I'm going to think of is, I pulled this out of a book called Junior Master Gardener. And you can get certified as a junior gardener. But a good way to remember what plants need is that plants need plants. And if you are in a house where you can make some noise, feel free to yell these to yourself as I'm reading them. But P is for place. They need a place to live. So these little lettuces here, I planted them in eggshells just to see if it would work. And it worked for a little while. There's not a lot there. They need to go outside and have more room. But that's a place. They need light. A lot of people said sun. Maybe you've seen grow lights before that give little plants enough light. Air, they need oxygen and carbon dioxide. They need all the nutrients. If you've ever seen someone do a soil test, they're testing, is the plant food there in the soil for them? The T in plants here, I think it's kind of cheating because that stands for water, but they made it thirsty. So it'd be a T, so P-L-A-N-T. Thirsty, like all living things, plants need water, and soil or something else to grow in. So P-L-A-N-T-S. And if you forget these, you're gonna have access to this whole PowerPoint, the whole slideshow afterwards, so you'll have this list. But think about place, light, air, nutrients, they're thirsty for water, and soil. And then think about your garden. It might be a garden that you really have in the house or outside. It might be a garden you haven't had yet, but you're thinking of making. It might be a bucket. It might be, just think about a garden and does the place you're having have plants yet? So think that in the back of your mind. We're gonna go through some different places plants can grow. So I'd love to hear from you in the chat box. I've put up a few pictures of different places plants are growing. Where have you seen plants growing? Maybe you made them grow there, or maybe you just found them. In a greenhouse, yep, outside. And while you all are typing in the chat box, I'm gonna point out over here, we have some soda bottles. Somebody's growing chives in their soda bottles. Somebody's growing, let's see, that looks like parsley in a boot, but I hope they put little drainage holes in the bottom of the boot. You gotta do that when you're planting. Somebody here has lettuce growing in a bunch of plastic bags hanging on poles. You can do that. These little pea plants on the bottom, I planted these at home 2 days apart to see how big the roots would get. They're only 2 days apart, and those are milk cartons. If you've been getting food coming from school through your meal service, you've probably gotten these same kinds of juice boxes, and I put a little window in. So on your, on a play structure, plants climbing up there in a garden, in egg cartons, bins and greenhouses and boxes and in the fridge. Yep, things will grow in the fridge if you don't start eating them. Garden boxes. I've had potatoes start growing on the shelf if I don't eat them fast enough. Yeah, plants can grow all kinds of places. The thing about seeds and plants is they want to grow. If you give them plants, they'll figure out a way to grow. And you can make them grow bigger and tastier in different ways, but they want to grow. So going back to that plants, just think real quick about your garden. Is your spot ready yet? Do you have a place? What do you need? So put in the chat box, all ready? Or if your place isn't ready, what will you need to find? Do you need to find water? Do you need to find some seeds? Do you need to ask someone if you can use the space? Do you need potting soil? There's a lot of people are ready. I'm interested just to hear more about these gardens. So keeping all those things in mind, yeah, seeds are really important if you're gonna be planting things. We have already, somebody is all ready. And there are a lot of different places. So we're gonna hear more about that. And I forget what my next slide is. So I'm just gonna go to it and see what that slide is. Ready? All right, I cheated a little bit. So now that I know what it is, that's my part about where seeds can grow and plants and what they need. And you know a lot of that already. I'm gonna hand it off to Debbie, who's gonna do a little bit of really showing you how to do some planting. And Debbie, let me know when to turn off the screen.
I will. So with so many of you having some gardening experience, I'm betting that some of you have started plants or seeds indoors before. If you haven't, we're gonna just talk about some that you could put in this year, still at this point in the season. So different vegetables require different temperatures. So right now, say somebody who loved the hot peppers and the tomatoes, you can't go and plant those out there yet. The soil is too cold, the temperatures are too cold, and they're just not ready. But there are things that you can plant outside. And we're going to talk about that in a little bit. But right now, we're going to talk about something you could plant inside. And at this point, we would suggest something like pumpkins, squash, or cucumbers. If you wait a couple of more weeks, you can direct seed those right outside in your garden. But again, the soil needs to warm up a little bit before you can do that. So things that you would need to get started would be the seeds, which I saw lots of people said they had some, a container with holes in it. We are going to use an egg carton today, some potting soil, and a way to label your seedlings. So we can't go out in our garden and just take some soil and use that for starting seeds inside. Your success rate will probably not be great because the soil compacts too much. There's not, it's heavy. It doesn't allow the roots to have nice air space like Liz was talking about. That's one of the parts of the plants model. So we use potting soil. If you have access to potting soil, great. If not, hold on, and we'll talk about what you can just put right in your garden right off. So before we start to plant something, we're going to talk about seeds and how they are different sizes. On the slide, you can see that little diagram of how small seeds are planted less deeply than a large seed. The general rule of thumb is either twice the diameter of the seed or 2 to 3 times its width. So something that's real small, you're really not going to put a lot over it because a seed only has so much energy within it. It sprouts or germinates and it's reaching up for the sun. And if it's planted too deeply, then it can't get up there in time for the sun to be creating the energy it needs. If you plant something too shallow, like sometimes I find that I don't plant my peas deep enough and I'll see them rising to the surface sometimes. And so they're not getting, you want those roots to really get a hold down deep. So it's kind of a fine line between getting kind of the right depth for those seeds. Okay, so I'm going to have you stop sharing, Liz, for a second. So talking about seed size, so we're talking about we're going to plant some squash or pumpkin. So here, let's see, can you see that? This one, this bigger one, is a zucchini seed, and the other one is a cucumber. So they're quite different in size. So we're going to plant these at different depths. I have my egg carton, and I took the top off to make a tray, and I poked some holes in the bottom of here, and then I put some soil in. And I know it's going to be hard for you to see, but basically I put less soil in the ones that I'm going to put my big seeds in. I'm going to put one of these larger seeds into each cell.
Oh, hey, Debbie,
Yeah.
You just said it might be hard to see you. If anybody wanted to put just Debbie on their whole screen, there's a button for that. On the top of your screen, it says speaker view, and that'll show you just Debbie's screen. If you want to see everybody's faces, stay like that. But if you want like a just big Debbie on TV, that's the button to press, speaker view.
Okay, so I'm trying to tip this towards you. So I've got one of the larger seeds in each cell, and I'm putting 2 of the cucumbers in each one. Because you can't, if you put too many seeds in, they're going to take up too much of the water and resources and are going to stay small. And then we're just going to cover it. My soil is pre-moistened. And then you're just going to water it a little bit. And then you're going to put it in a sunny spot. a warm spot, because we were talking about how these plants, they need that warmth to germinate, and that's why we're not putting them outside right now. So I'm gonna put this in a warm space, make sure they're watered, but not overwatered. I think the biggest downfall for starting seeds is actually watering them too much. I think we get so excited and we're looking after them. But if we water too much, it reduces that oxygen that it needs to grow. And we want those roots to really spread out and have a real good foundation in there. Oh, so then we also needed to label them. So you could write on the outside like that. You could use a popsicle stick. You could use a toothpick with a piece of masking tape. But my favorite is a yogurt container, and I cut it up into little pieces like this, and I write on it with a permanent marker. And then these tags can go right into your garden to label them, because why it's important to label is, look, they all look the same. When you're talking about growing squash and pumpkin, one might be bigger than the other, but I guarantee you won't be able to tell them apart at this stage. So putting a label on them would be great, unless you're looking for just to have a surprise and see what you come out with. So these I started 1 week ago, and most everything is up or almost up. And they're leaning a little. I don't know if you can see that. So they were in my window. So when yours start to come up, you might have to rotate them, like turn them around in your window once a day so that they even out. You can also put them right outside on a nice day. Like I put them out during the weekend, this weekend, because it was so warm and sunny. But you also have to check on them more often, because they dry out much quicker when they're out in the wind and the sun. Okay. I think I'm ready to have you share the screen again, Liz.
All right. Here we
Okay.
go.
And lastly, if you do not have an interest in starting something inside, that's okay, because you can start outside right now. Lots of greens like spinach, lettuce, kale, Swiss chard, arugula, peas. I know that was somebody's favorite. Carrots, beets, radishes, potatoes, onions, turnip, kohlrabi. A lot of things can be put right in the ground right now, because these are cool weather crops and they don't mind if the soil is cool, and they can even tolerate a little bit of a frost. So those are fine to get started. Just keep note of their seed size and how deep you want to plant them. Most of those are actually pretty small seeds, and they won't need a lot of covering. Peas are probably the biggest out of those. But you can, I'm sure you have seed packets at home, and these provide invaluable information. On the back, they tell you how deep to plant, or how long it takes for the seeds to germinate, or how you might space them, and things like that. There's lots of good information, as well as when to plant if you're not sure. So take a look on the back of your seed packets for more help. And all of those, again, this whole slideshow will be available for you, so you don't have to remember those items right now. You can look back and see what you might want to plant outside right now. Are there any questions before we move on?
And if you have a question, just as a reminder, you can either type that into the chat, or you can press your raise your hand button in the participants box.
If nobody has a question, you can put questions in, but I would be interested to know if anybody has ever started seeds inside before. Yes, chives would be like onions. Yep. Mine come up every year. Those are a perennial onion, so they should be coming up if you have them already, and if not, you could plant them. Okay, looks like we've got some of both, that some people have started things and others that haven't. Awesome. All right, if more questions come up, there'll be time at the end to ask more and get
All right.
answered. Oh,
And we
are
got-
tomatoes fruits or vegetables? Well, they're technically fruits because they have seeds, but we think of them as vegetables, don't we? Most of the time, at least I do, but they are a fruit. They're fruit vegetables. I think that would be a good way to think of them. Okay, well, that's all I have. Thanks for listening.
We will hand it off to vegetables, new words today. We are going to hand it off to Martha, who's going to tell you more about a particular kind of, also technically a fruit, but we call it a vegetable. So if Martha's on, let's see. Is your microphone? There we go.
Am I on?
Yep.
So I'm going to talk about the pumpkin challenge, which we did a few years ago, and this year we would like to offer the opportunity for people to participate again. Now, these aren't like the super huge pumpkins. These pumpkins will get to be maybe 100 pounds, 125 pounds. And so if anyone would like to participate in the pumpkin challenge, then we would mail them the seed and a pumpkin record book that they could complete. We would send the seeds. Once the soil warms up, you could get your seeds started, or you could even start them inside, remembering the depth rule that Debbie shared with us, so that these pumpkin seeds, they are a fairly large seed, and you can get them started inside and then transplant them outside. You're probably not going to want to put them outside till the temperature really warms up. So I'm going to show you, this is one of the pumpkin seeds. As you can see, they're kind of been treated with this pink fungicide. This is to help prevent the seeds from rotting in the soil before they've had a chance to get going. But you do want to wash your hands after you handle those seeds, and no licking of the fingers, please. And to participate in the pumpkin challenge, you will send me your mailing address in an email. Please don't send it in the chat box. And we will mail you some seeds. And
Martha,
then,
I'm going to
yes,
interrupt. So I send everyone an email tomorrow as a follow-up. So
okay.
I will put your email in that note, and then you all can email Martha, because you'll have her email, and let her know if you want to participate.
And feel free to share that email if you have friends who couldn't join us at the social today, who also might like to join in the pumpkin challenge. And then on September 15th, everyone will be able to weigh their pumpkins, and we will supply you with a link at that time that you can, the 20th of September, you'll weigh your pumpkins and record your weights, and then we will determine who the top 5 growers were, and then we will award them a prize for their pumpkin. We haven't decided yet what the prize will be, but hopefully we'll get us some sponsors for some pretty cool prizes. So the other thing is throughout the growing season, if you've got questions about your pumpkins, or caring for your pumpkins, or should you fertilize your pumpkins, we're going to have some trainings that you can join in on, just like the social today, and it will be Let's Talk Pumpkin. So if you've got any questions about the pumpkins or the pumpkin challenge, feel free to type them in the chat box, and then we'll be happy to answer those questions.
Right on. And we'll help you do that. And like we said, you got the agricultural advice of Martha Manning behind you to grow those pumpkins. Has anybody ever participated in a growing challenge before? You can put a yes or no in the chat box. Interesting. Cool. It's going to be a new experience. So we're coming to toward the end of the time where we're talking and telling you stuff and asking you questions. We want to give you some things to think about and some resources as you're heading out. So we have challenges, and it's a challenge by choice. You could do all these things, you could do one of these things, you could do none of these things and just come on back and hear some more about gardening. But the options we came up with, or the suggestions or the choices are, first one, decide what you're going to grow and where to grow it. And you might already have your garden started. A lot of people said they know where it's going to be or they've grown before. So when we come back on Thursday, we'd like to see a picture, or if you draw a garden plan, and this is just a picture of somebody else's garden plan. Doesn't have to be all that detailed, or you could have every plant and you could have measured it and have them all named, or anything in between. So what's growing and where is it growing, or will it grow? And it could be a real garden or maybe even a dream garden. But what's your garden plan? Another option is starting some seeds. You might start one seed, you might already have seeds started, you might be starting a whole lot of seeds. And on Thursday, you can just tell us about it, or like Debbie did, you can show us your tray of seeds or your cup or your eggshell or your Tupperware or whatever it might be. And so we want to see about or hear about seeds starting on Thursday. Another option is just find a plant growing that you couldn't see a month ago. You know, sap's done running and all the flowers are changing and starting to come out, and there are things that were under snow a month ago. There was brown plants all around a month ago, and now we got yellows and purples and almost blues coming out. We'd love to see a picture, or you could just tell us about it. It could be a plant in your garden or something totally wild that you came across popping out of a stone wall, but a plant you couldn't see before. Yeah, Martha?
Maybe some of these people have been foraging already for things that are growing. Maybe
oh my gosh,
some fiddleheads. Those pictures would be welcome too.
Absolutely. Yep. And if any of those are too specific or just something you don't want to do, just come on back and share something about gardening. And Debbie's going to show off her particular garden plan. So will you put, I'm just curious, will you put in the chat box either garden plan or start seeds or find a plant or just come back? We put one of those choices in the chat box. I'm curious what people are interested in doing. Garden plan, start
Liz,
seeds.
they could do 1, 2, 3, or 4 since they're
that
numbered.
Works. Yep. Oh, right, because you can see the screen. Thanks, Lauren. All right, I'm seeing a couple of garden plans and seeing some seeds starting. Now read that. Somebody's going to find a plant. I'm curious to see what plant that'll be and see these garden plans. I remember your garden plan, you could draw it or you could take a picture. And if you don't know, that's totally fine, and you're absolutely welcome to come on back. Start some seeds. And maybe they go together. You're making your plan, you're starting your seeds, and they can't go in the garden yet. So we are looking forward to seeing these things on Thursday. Seed starting, garden seeds, finding plants. Oh, great. I like that people have a lot of different choices. So we'll have a lot to talk about on Thursday. We're going to see Debbie's garden plan. We're going to see garden plans from you guys. We're going to see some seed starting and hear about seeds. We're going to hear about maybe wild plants, you know, ramps and fiddleheads or trilliums or anything else out in the woods there. We're going to have a lot to talk about on Thursday. Now, as Lauren said, she is going to email everybody tomorrow as a quick follow-up, and you're going to have access to this whole slideshow we've been showing you. And we just wanted to show you really quick. We stuffed a whole bunch more information in the back of the slideshow that we're not going to read to you, but if you want it, it's there. So one of those things, remember Debbie was going over how to start seeds inside? Here's all the steps she talked about. So this is in your slideshow, and you'll have access to that later. Another thing is we put a few different gardening resources we didn't talk about, but if you've been with 4-H before, you know we love our record books, keeping track of what you've been learning, getting to think about it. So there's a link to the gardening record book, which actually our Martha Manning right there was the main writer on that. You can go and visit a garden in another part of the world. You can see if your school has Farm to School, which does a lot with school gardens and local food and farms. You can talk to other Vermont gardeners. Every week, the Vermont Community Garden Network gets people together to ask expert questions and share your troubles and show pictures of your bugs and your plants. You can get your soil tested and you can learn more. We just ran out of space for this last one. Kids Gardening has activities in every possible direction. You can learn more, all these specifics. You can make art, you can do science, plan a party, feed butterflies, photography, all kinds of things. And they show some ways to use your garden in all those different activities. And then the last thing we want to show you is, here's me and Debbie and Martha again with our email addresses. So all of this is in your slideshow, and you can feel free to get in touch with us with questions about anything we've shared today. And we'll be back on Thursday talking more. So any questions or what you're most excited about for this garden season? We have a lot of interesting things. People are going to start seeds and give us plans. And any questions before we hand that off? And Allison, Lauren, Martha, Debbie, anything you want to add or prompt in here? But do you have any questions for us before we start to say goodbye?
I'll just make one comment. When you guys do your garden plans or start your seeds for, if you want to take pictures of these things to share on Thursday, when I send you the email, I'm going to include a link to our Google folder. It's a really great way for us to be able to share what you've done because we can project it right on the screen. So it's easier for everyone to see. So think about maybe adding a picture to help when you come back to share.
Great. All right.
So
Anything
before we
else?
wrap up, Liz, if I could just
Yeah, go for it, Martha.
So if you've been sitting here today and you've been hearing all these funny noises, I'm going to pick up my laptop and try to move it. I've got to show you what's behind me today, if I can reach quite that far. So in our house today,
Oh,
it's today. So they're just starting to hatch. So if you heard a lot of noise, I apologize, and that was kind of the distraction in the background.
Awesome. All right, so I don't see any questions popping up. Double check real quick, Allison and Lauren, any last steps before I go on to the goodbye slide?
Nope, I think, like you said, everyone will get an email to the Google folder, which will have this PowerPoint. This has also been being recorded, and we'll share the link. So if you, for some reason, want to watch part of it again to help you with your gardening, and then all of those fantastic links that you provided in the PowerPoint are going to be great ways for all these, sounds like ready to go gardeners. So this is great. We look forward to seeing you all coming back on Thursday. And I will send you a link on Thursday morning. So there'll be a new link to come in. Every time we meet, there's a brand new Zoom link. So you'll get that Thursday morning to come back and join us again.
And thank you to everyone who joined us today near and far. It was really exciting to see some 4-Hers from Illinois, and I think we have Massachusetts, Vermont, so different growing zones. And I think that that could be really interesting as we talk about different climates. I know tonight we're expected in my neck of the woods to maybe get an inch of snow, and I'm guessing that might be different for some of you in Vermont and other states. So definitely looking forward to hearing your garden plans depending on where you're from as well.
Yes. So when you're ready to leave, just remember to hover your mouse towards the bottom of your screen, click End Meeting, and we'll see you next time. So thanks for joining us today.